What is up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle for the next episode in our weekend review, the series that was funded and actually financed and created by the Patreon backers. And so at the beginning, I always like to say thank you to everybody who believed in me and decided to vouch for the channel by signing up to support it financially. This is what you get out. This is one of the rewards. And so this is the series where we sit down every other week and we just kind of talk about what's going on the channel. It's very business-like. It's not necessarily meant to be like, like super entertaining or anything like that. It's just a video where we hang out for a little while and we talk about the series that we have going on. I give you a little bit of behind-the-scenes insight as to what's moving around, what's being done, what I'm having fun with, what I like, what I don't like. And so this is mostly for the kinds of people that like those behind-the-scenes DVD features. I don't really watch those, but it's for the people that like to get like into my head. Like if you've had questions about why I'm doing something, when I do this series and I talk about stuff, I like to get in there so that I can explain to you exactly what I do and don't like about the games that we're currently playing. And it also gives me a chance to explain my rationale if they're staying or if they're going, and it lets me talk about things that I may not have thought about while playing the game otherwise. So, without further ado, let's get started with our weekend review. The games we have running on the channel right now, we have Don't Starve Shipwrecked, we have Shop Up a Beep 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 Beep, we have Tharsis, we have, let's see here, what else? Mordheim. Okay, so we don't have a lot going on right now. Slime Rancher has come to an end, simply based on the fact that we ran out of content. And that's a big bummer for me because that's one of those games that I would have liked to have milked like forever. The series was very, very successful on the channel. It was a series that everybody really seemed to like. I fell in love with the game, so I had no doubt in my mind that people here at the Nerd Castle would also fall in love with the game. You can definitely tell that it's a labor of love. The first episode did something like 60,000 views or something like that so far, and it's only been up for 2 weeks, you know what I mean? And so it's definitely like a really, really big hit series for me. It's a series that everybody liked, including myself, and that's a challenging thing to do because when I YouTube, sometimes I feel like I'm playing stuff just to like get it on the channel so that I give it like the acknowledgement, even though I don't really like that style of game or whatever. It's not a bad game, and so I feel like I'm forcing myself to play a game that's outside of a genre that I normally play just because I'm expected to play it or because I feel like not putting it on the channel is me saying that it sucks. And so Slime Rancher was one of those games that lined up in every single aspect. It was a fun game. I enjoyed the hell of it. I fell in love with it. I mean, I give it an 11 out of 10 if I could. And I can't wait for future updates. It's really something that I'm going to be following like Subnautica as far into the future as I can. But we ran out of content. There's nothing else to do. And while some YouTube channels will sit there and they'll just like walk around in circles and do nothing the entire time while adding more and more episodes to a series, I'm not that guy. If we're out of content, I can't force myself to keep playing the game. It feels illegitimate to me. It feels kind of unethical. It feels kind of shitty to just like create stuffing episodes just because I know the series will get views and I know that it'll like pay the bills or whatever. And so I'm going to set it off to the side for right now. We're going to wait for some content updates just like we're doing for Subnautica and for all those other sandbox games that I've played in the past. Once it gets a couple of big content updates, I may follow every content update. I don't really know. I like the game enough to where I'm addicted and I really, really want to play it, but we'll see what happens with it. We will see what happens with it in the long term. Slime Rancher, you can tell it's a game that's like a labor of love for somebody. There's always a big feeling to me, like some people that make games, you can tell it's a job for them. And so the game feels very job-like. Like the things may work, it might be a fun game, but sometimes, for example, with like some AAA developers, I feel like they put things in the game because they're expected to put them there, not because they want to put them there. And so with Slime Rancher, I don't get that feeling at all. Everything in that game feels like it's something that the developer himself or herself has fallen in love with and very much likes the idea of. Everything from the graphics down to the sound effects. It's a cool game, and what's special about it is it's a game that kids can enjoy. It's a game that adults can enjoy. It's a game that there's nothing risky about it whatsoever for any demographic, and that's why I think it's going to be very, very successful. It shares that in a lot of ways with Pokemon. It shares that in a lot of ways with Minecraft. Very few games can strike that perfect balance where it's not too childlike for adults, but it's not too adult-like for kids. And I'm looking forward to a successful future for Slime Rancher. I think that they've got big things ahead of them, and I hope they make a lot of money. I would love to see Slime Rancher just go on to be a big, big name in indie gaming because I think they're onto something very, very good right now. I had thought for a little while about tweeting the developer and being like, you know, man, like, don't let people get you down, or don't let yourself get down about things. I know as a creative person, and I don't even know if the developer is going through anything like this, I just wanted to be the person to express it and just be like, when you're creative and you are creating things, it's very easy to hate the stuff you create and see all the flaws with it. You're on a good path right now. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If anybody says your game sucks, they're flat out wrong. They are objectively wrong. I play thousands of games a year that get sent to me through my email, and the fact that yours stands out to me as like one of my top 5 for 2015, even though it came out like 4 days before the end of the year. That's a really, really big deal considering how many games I work through on like a weekly basis. And so, you know, I hope they stick with it. I've got a lot of faith in Monomi Park to do a good job with this game, because what I've seen so far from their alpha, their pre-alpha, is really, really fantastic. So I'm in love with it. I think a lot of people are falling in love with it right now, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the future. Tharsis. We got Tharsis up and running. Tharsis is just like a holdout series. I don't think I'm going to play it a lot, and I don't think it's a game that I could put a ton of episodes on the channel from, because I tend to get salty with anything that has to do with RNG. I tend to just be like, why won't this dice land the way I want it to do? I've rolled 20 dice and I needed a 2, and statistically I should have gotten a 2 by now. And yet, 20 dice, I still haven't rolled a 2, and I'm losing because of that. I made an educated guess based on probability, and I lost just because probability decided to be like, take the boots to him, medium style. So, I like Tharsis a lot. I think that Tharsis is one of those games that could be easily expanded as well. I think that Tharsis has a bright future in front of it as far as board game digital conversions go, because I don't think of Tharsis as a video game, actually. I think of it as a board game. It feels like a board game to me. It feels like Pandemic or any of those other board games where you're trying to, you know, minimize the casualties, you're trying to minimize the damages that are being inflicted while at the same time working towards a final goal. But I think that it's easily expandable. Looking at the game, I think they could add all kinds of stuff to it for like little 99-cent, $1.99 DLC packs that add new dice types and add new characters, add new, like, you could actually make it so that the ship, the compartments are randomized and you get different compartments every single time you play that give you different bonuses. So maybe you wouldn't get a med bay this time, but you'll get this other part over here that does this special thing. I think they could do a lot of stuff with the game, and I hope that they keep that in mind, because I do think that it's a special game. I think it's just not for me. So that's not to say that it's a bad game. I recognize a solid game when I see one. It's just that the RNG aspects of the game tend to make me pull my hair out. I really like the storyline of it. I loved how it was all kind of Event Horizon-y, and you weren't really sure what was going on. At first, you think you're part of like a scientific game, like it feels very realistic, and you're going in as like an astronaut to go to Mars. And then as you get further and further into the game, you start to realize like weird shit is going on, and there might be something supernatural, or maybe a cult, or just something really alien going on at the moment that does not make sense. And you can really start to feel the characters as they talk through the different cutscenes. You can feel their brains starting to crack and just being like, what the hell is going on here? This reading is not supposed to be coming through. Like, they did a great job with the voiceovers. Is really, I think the voice actors knocked those ones out of the park, because they really did a good job relaying that sense of terror, like, what the hell is going on here? We're so far from home right now. We have no hope of anything good happening, and yet bad things just keep happening over and over and over again. We trained for this, and just the worst ever has happened. I think the theme and the setting for Tharsis are very, very strong, and whereas the game doesn't have a ton of replay value, even though you would think that it would, I see myself, I put about 4 or 5 hours into it so far, and I could probably play a couple more hours and enjoy myself, but I think the gameplay would have to be adapted in some way in order to keep me playing. Like, the storyline would have to randomize a little bit based on the actions you took. I don't know how many endings there are. I've gotten 2 endings so far. I've beaten the game 4 times and have 2 different endings. So there might be a bunch of different endings. I'm not really sure, with like lone survivors and stuff like that. I'm not positive. I've beat it with 4 characters, I've beat it with 3 characters, and I beat it with 4 characters. And so I've never beat it with 2 or 1, so I'm not exactly sure what happens if you finish the game with just 1 guy left over. But the storyline does change a little bit. The final monologue, actually. I guess the epilogue? Is that what it is? Yeah, the epilogue. So the epilogue at the end where it gives you the storyline, it changes a little bit based on how many people get there and how much cannibalism you used. But I don't know if I have the patience to go through. It's so hard to win the game to begin with that it's hard to tailor-make parties to win the game with to fish out the different endings. And so anyways, I'll probably do 4 or 5 episodes of it, then we'll drop it and we'll do something else. It's a very busy indie season right now. There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of things that I want to cover, and there's a lot of cool games coming out in January that I want to do like little 5, 7 episode series on. So look forward to that. I think that as far as Mordheim goes, we'll probably be saying goodbye to Mordheim fairly shortly. Mordheim does okay. Like, Mordheim is a staple series. Like, people like it. It definitely hits the thresholds that I need it to hit as far as metrics and things of that nature. I enjoy playing the game. I find it to be a very, very fun game. At the same time, until some of the bugs get worked out, like, for example, the enemy just screws up so much, the AI, it just, with the pathfinding. Just the pathfinding. That's all they need to work on, is the pathfinding, the pathfinding, the pathfinding, because things are always getting stuck in that game. And I don't know if it's like a clipping issue or if it's a pathfinding issue or what it is. Like, I think it's because the AI thinks it can go through doorways with impressives, but it can't, and so it ends up like clogging itself up. It just feels like there's some fundamental misunderstanding by the AI on the part of like the mechanics that it's able to exploit and that it thinks are possible versus what is actually possible. And so Mordheim, I don't know. I know there's like 3 acts, there's like 12 storyline missions. We could probably just bang our way through those like back to back to back once we get everybody leveled up to 10. We do have our first death this week. Our first character dies this week, so if it hasn't happened yet in the series, pay attention. We lose our first character, and he's like a level 9, and so it sucks. He gets taken out by an impressive due to kind of just my I actually did something stupid. It was kind of my fault. It was kind of my fault, and it was kind of just me. I took a brutal mission just to see what would happen, and it was brutal. We won, but we lost a character. And so anyways, it gets a little rowdy. Stay tuned for that one. We lose a character who's been a staple since the beginning of the game. But yeah, I like Mordheim. Mordheim's checking all the boxes, but sometimes I just feel like a series needs to keep on keeping on, you know what I mean? Anytime I get above like 30 episodes or so, I start being like, all right, we've been doing this for like a month and a half. It's taking up a time slot. Maybe we should do something else. Maybe I can like phase it down so I just do it like once or twice a week maybe. Something like that. I haven't really decided with Mordheim because I do like the game and I don't really want to get rid of it, but at the same time, it's been around for a while, and it's becoming a bit more of the same. Like, we're just kind of doing the same stuff over and over and over again. And I don't find the storyline missions particularly enjoyable, so doing those doesn't really glean any greater gameplay content for me. So I'm kind of leaning towards phasing it out right now, maybe doing an episode every now and again. But as far as Mordheim goes, I really like the game. I would just like to see more warbands. I'd like to see, you know, stuff that we can re-roll with, some new maps. I think the map is starting to get a little old to me too. It'd be nice to see different areas of Mordheim instead of like that exact same city area that you always seem to get. It'd be cool to have one take place in like an open residential park. It'd be cool to have one take place on the outskirts of town where you can see the walls of town right there, and there's just little farmhouses and things. It'd be nice to see some new maps and some new variables introduced because it just feels very repetitive to me right now. And so that's where we're sitting with Mordheim. I am, however, stoked that we got our impressive. Dougie was the best decision we've ever made. Shopkeep I like. I like Shopkeep a lot. I think it runs that same barometer of being a little bit repetitive while at the same time just enough is varying each time you play to where you get like new stuff, you get new patrons, you start to unlock new people. And so I'm having fun with that aspect of the game. I'm looking forward to some of the more active aspects though, like being able to take things, like send out adventurers to bring back supplies for you and then doing some of the crafting so that you can get some of the rarer supplies. I don't think we'll get more than like 20 episodes out of it. Now that I've played the game a bit and I have a little bit more experience with it, I think we'll probably get like 20, 25 out of it, but at that point we will have basically hit the end and we'll just be farming materials and doing things of that nature. Shopkeep's kind of an interesting game because it feels very low budget when you're playing it. Like, it feels like the game does not have a lot of polish, but at the same time it's one of those odd games that just ends up being really, really fun, even though the polish is not there, and even though, like, the mechanics are not there. There's a lot of things missing from the game. It still ends up being undeniably fun and chaotic, and the bugs actually don't end up being that irritating. They end up being the sorts of things that make you laugh and kind of add a little bit of happiness to it, I think. It's an interesting balance to strike, and it's one that I'm seeing more and more often with indie games, where every now and again there's a game that on paper should be getting poor reviews, but you sit down and you play it, and just like the various aspects of it, it's more than the sum of its parts. Like, if you were just looking at it from a purely gameplay standpoint or sound standpoint or whatever, you probably give it like a 6 out of 10 and be like, yeah, it's alright. But for some reason, every now and again, a game comes along that really just has inferior parts, but all of them put together make a game that's just undeniably fun to play. And I think that Shopkeep is one of those games. Technically, it's not a great game. Gameplay-wise, it's not a great game. Repetition-wise, it's not a great game. But for some reason, there's just something about it that's enjoyable to play. It's just such a goofy little game that allows you to flip the RPG genre on its head, just like shift the paradigm a little bit, and just be a shopkeeper for all these greedy assholes that are coming in stealing stuff and fighting and all that kind of thing. It makes it fun. It makes it fun, and so I've been pleased with the game so far. I do think that series was a very, very good idea for the channel. I think it fits the tenor of the channel too, which is the important part. There are certain things you can do with a YouTube channel, and there are certain things you cannot based on your branding. And for me, it seems to be like sandbox games. As long as it's a sandbox game, people seem to be okay with it. But if you start playing around with things that have really hard boundaries, people don't seem to enjoy it very much. And so, based on my branding, I think the Shopkeep, it was a good choice, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I can't wait to see what the rest of the game has waiting for us. I kind of want to get to the more advanced stuff. We start to do quests this week, and I think that's where I was really dropping the ball, is that if you're doing quests, you actually accumulate those K points a lot faster so you can advance through the game much, much quicker. And I think I was neglecting that aspect of the game, and so we start doing quests and getting big grips, you know, of good stuff as time goes along. With the Loot Crate unboxing, if you didn't watch the Loot Crate video, it's got almost 1,000 comments on it right now. Like, holy shit. A lot of people came out to win that Loot Crate, and I'm excited. I'm going to leave you something a little bit special inside each box from me to you. A little thank you for you supporting the channel. I try to do something personalized in every box that I send out for whoever the viewer is that gets it. This Loot Crate was pretty cool. I like the Galaxy Crate. The Galaxy Crate was super awesome. It came with that. I think the thing that I was most stoked about it was the Han Solo. I collect those little pop figurines. Those things are so ridiculously collectible. I don't even know why I want them anymore, because I've got shelves full of them. My girlfriend has loads of them. I have loads of them. I buy them every chance that I get, and yet they have no discernible, like, value. They don't really work as a decoration. They mostly just make your house look cheaper. But at the same time, actually the new pop figurines aren't as nice as the old ones. I like the old ones better from when they first started. They used to make them out of kind of like a resin or something like that. And now they're making them out of like a hard plastic, like the new series that they're running. I like the resin ones better. The new hard plastic bobblehead ones, I don't know, they're cool, but I think I like the originals better. Still, the Galaxy Crate was really, really awesome. I enjoyed just about everything we got out of that crate. I'm going to announce the winner on the day that this video comes out. I'm not going to announce it like publicly. I'll probably do it on the Twitter or something. Make sure you check the Twitter out. I have it down below. That's where I do all my announcements through. I would also say that to check your YouTube messages, because that's how I'm going to get into contact with people so that I can mail the crate to them. I don't know your address or anything like that, so I got to get in contact with you in some kind of personal way, one way or the other. And so I'd love to send it your way. We got 2 boxes going out this time. So I'm going to send them on out. Hopefully that's the way to get it done. If you don't like the Patreon option, you can actually do like a one-time support of the channel type deal by signing up for Loot Crate using my loot code down below. If you sign up with that, they actually basically give me, like, I think like 70% of the sign-up cost or something like that, just because of the referral or whatever. So if you wanted to support the channel and you're going to buy Loot Crate anyways, it doesn't cost you anything to use my link. Like, it doesn't cost you more or less or anything like that. It's just like you're paying the money you would have paid anyways, and instead of it going to Loot Crate, it goes to me. And so as a Loot Crate partner, I feel like I'm obligated to throw that down there and just let you know that is an alternative way that you can support the channel, just in case Patreon is not to your liking and it's not something you want rolling over every single month. Aside from that, we've got Don't Starve Shipwrecked. I think I'm getting a little bored with Don't Starve Shipwrecked. The series is doing perfectly fine. Like, the series is healthy. It's looking good. People seem to be enjoying it perfectly fine. I always get to this point with Don't Starve, though. Like, Don't Starve is such a fantastic game, and it's something that I consistently struggle with, where I get to, like, the 70th or 80th day, and I need to come up with things to do, and I'm just like, meh, I'm just gonna go play something else. I do it with Skyrim. I do it with any sandbox game that has like huge amounts of content, and I think that's honestly one of the big hurdles that people have to jump over when it comes to designing a game. It's like, how do you counteract that from happening, where your game has so much stuff to do that the player gets overwhelmed and they're just like, alright, well, I survived for 100 days, I guess I'm just gonna quit now. Like, how do you get over that right there, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I always do that with games that have like a really, really extended longevity. I think that's a bit of a, I think that might be an oxymoron. But anyways, games that have a real extreme longevity, I tend to get bored like halfway to 60% through, and then I'm just like, and it's not the game's fault. Like, it should still be fun. It's just that I have no attention span. I have the attention span of a gnat, and so unfortunately, unless it jumps out right at me, I'm just not going to get it done. Shipwrecked, I'm a little on the fence about it. I may just kind of do it every now and again from now on. I may do it pretty consistently. The series is perfectly fine. There's nothing, I'm not getting rid of it because it's doing bad views or anything like that. It's just that when I've been playing it, I've been a little bit like meh lately when I've been playing. I've noticed that I've been having to like get excited about playing. I've got to like juice myself up before I play it, and that's never a good sign. And so anyways, I don't know what's going to happen to it. I've recorded the next week's worth of episodes, so there's that by minimum. We have a lot of stuff coming in the next week. We've got a lot of stuff going in the next week. There's going to be a lot of short series, so get ready for that. I wanted to talk about that briefly at the end of the video, just because this is where I would announce it at. As far as things going on in the channel, I'm going to try to keep things rotating. There's just like a rapid-fire Tommy gunning of games coming out both January and February, and then after that we get slow again. And so my plan for right now is for January and February to be a just load of 8 to 10 episode series that every single week you're going to have a couple new series coming in. We're going to play them through. If they're short, we'll beat them. If not, we'll kind of just do enough to touch off and let people decide if it's a game that they want to purchase for themselves. Because originally that's why I got into Let's Playing. I feel like Let's Playing is the superior medium to reviews. I only look at Let's Plays when I want to buy a game. I go and I watch a Let's Play real fast. I'll watch like the first or second or third episode. Usually I'll click on the third episode, just kind of watch and play for 30 minutes and see if it's something I can get into, because I feel like the modern media screws it up too frequently. Like, they do reviews, but they're these very polished, very sort of compartmentalized, amped up. They show you all the explosions and all the bells and all the whistles and all the glitter, but they don't show you the stuff in between. And I've bought a lot of games after looking at like reviews from various outlinks, or I guess various outfits, and it sucks when they don't tell you about all those weird in-between phases that you didn't know about. And so anyways, I don't go to traditional media anymore. I go to Let's Plays when I want to find out if I want to buy a game. And that's why I got into Let's Playing, is so that I could make a series where people could go through and watch enough of the game where they'd be like, all right, this is something I could get into. Or after 3 or 4 episodes, they'd be like, well, it was fun, but it's not a game that I personally would be into. And then they don't make the purchase. They get to make their educated decision. Still, absolutely still, I think we're going to be shotgunning a lot of games the next couple weeks. And then once we get to like March, that's when we're going to start going back and doing stuff like Subnautica, Stranded Deep, things of that nature that have patched a bunch of times, and then we'll have that dead period where I can work my way through it with some of the older series that we haven't done yet. I've been looking at games like Dex to do a series on. I do want to pick up like a new RPG series that we follow for a while that has a really strong storyline. I've been looking at Dex. I've been looking at Underrail. I've been looking at a couple different games to be like a series that runs for like the next 90 days and is a staple series. Like, it's just there. It doesn't go anywhere. Kind of like, I guess, Dead State was. However, that being said, I don't really have a whole lot of plans for right now. We do have some AAA games coming out that I'm excited about. There's a lot of indie games being released. But that's about all the time I have for today. We've just about covered everything. Make sure, let me know down below if there's anything you want me to cover in next week's or the week after that. I will try to cover that in the weekend review, and we'll talk about this. It's not a Q&A or anything like that. This is just kind of like business related. If you got a question about the way the channel functions, though, this would be the place to do it. So if anybody wants to give me any ideas, we can go after it. I'll see y'all later. This is the Weekend Review funded by the Patreon supporters. If you wanted to be one of those Patreon supporters, you can check it out down below. There's a bunch of rewards that you get, a bunch of new series and things will be kicking off as we start to fill up that little financial thermometer. I will see you all 2 weeks from now with the next Weekend Review. Hi to everybody. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for stopping on by, and I'll see you there.